Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Kirsten Lauritsen, and I am a personal functional medicine practitioner for athletes. And one of the things that I do is I help athletes go from feeling broken down, fatigued, but fit at race day to feeling fit and healthy and performing at your peak performance and also symptom free on race day. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is something that comes up a lot in my office as far as different types of athletes, and especially in the endurance world. One of the issues, one of the problems that a lot of athletes face is that they go through their training block feeling amazing, and they're seeing those performance gains, and they're seeing those markers get better and better and better. They're getting faster and faster, or they're getting stronger, or whatever it is that is the marker for you in your sport. You're seeing improvement, you're seeing performance benefits. But then all of a sudden, something comes out of the middle of nowhere, and fatigue just takes you out of training. It's almost as if one week you go from feeling absolutely amazing to the next week being like, what happened? Right? You feel super fatigued. You may also experience some joint pain that just came out of nowhere, like a super inflamed joint, like a knee or wrist or shoulder or low back, if that's like your thing. It just, the whatever it is, it comes out of the middle of nowhere and you don't know what happened. And you go to see like your PT or your chiropractor or whatever, and that's not helping and that's not working. And you've talked with your coach about technique and that's not working. And essentially what just ends up happening is either you cancel your upcoming race this next weekend, or it may have also cost you, some of this fatigue. It may have cost you a race. It could have showed up right around the time when race day happens, but most of the time it happens right in the middle of that training block. And you just see this fatigue start to set in and it all just starts to fade. So one of the reasons why this can happen is partially because we are relying on NSAIDs, we're relying on Advil or some other type of painkiller in order to train, but we don't deal with the underlying cause of what's causing some of that pain. The other reason why this can happen as well is because we aren't actually we're focusing on the joint itself, but we're not actually focusing on what's causing stress on the body. We're looking at technique. We're looking at PT exercises and adding more and more and more and more to the body, when the body is basically telling you that it's overloaded with stress and it's inflamed and it needs rest. The other thing that sometimes we do at the same time as well is, as we're going through these major training blocks, we're also maybe looking at trying to achieve certain types of body composition, or we're looking for trying to make a certain weight, right? We want to look a certain way on race day or for your event, or maybe you need to be a certain weight for your event in order to really perform well. The problem, though, is that if you are in the middle of a training block and you are under eating and under fueling and potentially doing more, like sacrificing sleep or adding in more training because of this fatigue, and you're not resting, and maybe you're also taking Advil or some type of painkiller that's trying to cover up some of the pain that your body's sending you signals that something isn't quite right, and you're not listening to it. Those are a lot of different things that can happen that can lead to the body getting injured and breaking down, and that fatigue that maybe should only take you about a week of rest to get over ends up causing you a lot longer to get over. So one of the things that can happen is that because we're under eating and we're leading to things like nutrient deficiencies, because the body is basically needing a lot of different types of vitamins and minerals in order to do the job that you're asking it to do, but it's not getting it. And so what can happen is this can then lead to us getting injured and feeling fatigued and just really broken down and getting sick. And that can have more to do, not with training necessarily, but it can have more to do with the external factors from our lifestyle and our habits, like our quality of sleep, like how much time we prioritize it to put into recovery, like what our nutrition habits look like, and are those actually supporting what we need in order to perform really well? And are we prioritizing making sure that we have enough antioxidants and anti-inflammatory type foods coming in so that our body is able to process the stress that we're putting on it through training? So, and the other thing too, I think as well, is that we also tend to look at so if it's like a joint pain or if it's fatigue, we might go to rest, but we don't look deeper. If it's an inflamed joint, what's the number one thing that athletes tend to do first? They go to their chiropractor or their PT or their massage therapist, or they go to one of those places because that's where you go. I get that. I do that. I know what that's like. But when you don't get answers, then what happens when that joint pain doesn't go away after a week and a half, 2 weeks? Then what? We just assume that whatever it is that we're doing isn't right. And then it leads to new equipment. It leads to new things, new supplements, new this, new that, new coaches. I mean, it just can go on and on and on when you don't find answers. But the thing is nobody's going and looking internally at what is causing that inflammation, what's causing that fatigue, what's causing that increased stress on the body. And that is what we need to look at, because what you need to pay attention to is with the needs of the body, you need to pay attention to the needs of the body that it requires in order to keep you training and in order to facilitate all the other things that you do in your life. So part of how we get you from feeling fit and fatigued on race day to feeling absolutely amazing and achieving that peak performance that you've trained all year to try to get to, and that you're able to do it symptom free without any problems, without fatigue and maybe minor pain, minor niggles and aches, but you're doing it as best as ever. Part of how we do that is by making sure that you are supporting your body with all the things that it needs internally as well as externally. So if you want to learn more, you can go to learnwithdrk.com to learn the steps of how I help my athletes go from broken down and fit but fatigued to feeling really amazing on race day. And you can learn the steps there. It's at learnwithdrk.com, and I will see you there.